All right, Puck and Pod fans. Bobby Bottles back here with our golf specialist, our golf expert, Vito, live on location at Torrey Pines. We're going to talk a little U.S. Open. It's the U.S. Open this week. But before we get into that, I got to talk to Vito because Vito is a big fan of one Mr. Tiger Woods that I saw a picture of him coming out of the hospital. And I was thinking about Tiger over the weekend because I was watching the Palmetto at Congaree Golf Club, and I was watching Dustin Johnson, and you're probably saying, what does Dustin Johnson have to do with Tiger Woods? I watched Dustin Johnson dominate for the last couple years. He wins the Masters, and he's kind of been off a little bit this year, and I think he finished 10th overall, and it got me thinking about how much we have basically taken for granted not just the greatness of Tiger Woods, but the longevity of Tiger Woods. I feel like that doesn't get talked about enough. What do you
The
think, Vito?
longevity of dominance,
Yes,
Bobby, is that where you're going with this?
that's where I'm talking.
Yeah. I mean, it's every time you seem to pull up a Tiger stat, it's like you have to you almost have to kind of dissect it a bit to really understand what kind of dominance this guy had, like throughout his years, where you knew he was the clear-cut favorite every tournament he walked into, right? And I think that's where you're starting to realize it when we talk about these great players who are in the game today. They don't even come close to what Tiger accomplished, and they're still at the top of their game, and arguably, I mean, you'd say top five favorites going into any given tournament, but they're not the clear cut favorite. They're not the almost sure bet like Tiger was.
And it's like, we seen Dustin a few years ago. We had Brooks. It's like every year that you have a guy that dominates for a year or two or three, and then he's gone. And where it was Tiger, what was the cut streak? Do you have the cut streak? How many weeks it was, or how
Yeah,
many weeks?
it was 142 consecutive cuts made in tournaments.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
And the weeks at number one. This is my favorite. The weeks at number one. Do you have that?
So on two separate occasions, he was the world number one for 281 weeks consecutively, from '05 to 2010. And even though it was about 20 weeks less, 261 consecutive weeks from '99 to '04. And that's probably the most dominant he's ever been. And I mean, obviously, sandwiched in there are the four consecutive majors that he won when he held all four at the same time, the Tiger Slam.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, you look at those numbers, Bobby. I don't think we're ever going to see that again. I think it's due to the fact that there's so much more parity as well. Like there's a lot of really good players now. Not to say that there weren't great players when Tiger was playing. It's just Tiger was so far ahead of everybody.
I mean, yeah, we know that at one point he was the best driver, iron player, and putter at the same time. How do you beat that? But not only that, those runs, I mean, he has the first and second longest streaks at number one, and that was playing with an all-timer, Phil Mickelson, there too. It wasn't like, there was a bunch of schlubs. There weren't a ton of great players. There aren't the type of quality there is today, but you had an all-timer in Phil, who, ironically, we're talking about Phil, and he just won the PGA Championship a few weeks ago that we did not see coming. That's for sure.
That was we didn't have him on our radar.
That was for sure. So talking Tiger, ironically, here we go. We're going back to Torrey Pines, and there's obviously the famous 2008 U.S. Open. If you want to fill us in on what happened, for anybody that doesn't know.
I mean, last time this national championship was held at Torrey Pines was in 2008, and that's the one of the most heroic performances you'll ever see on a golf course. Tiger basically just hobbling around on a broken leg and saying, you know what, let's go an extra 18 because this thing's going into a playoff. And at the time, it wasn't a sudden death playoff after Sunday. It was, let's get back here on Monday, and we're doing it all over again for 18. And still, after those 18 playoff holes, they couldn't figure it out and had to go into a sudden death after that. So, yeah, 2008 was one of the most remarkable things I've ever seen in sports. It was, Tiger just being the grinder that he's always been, just never out of it, never really gives up on a single shot, and it was just it was a win for the ages. Tiger was on fire coming into that U.S. Open too, and we were talking about stats just a moment ago. Put this into perspective, Bob. We're talking about a guy who, at that point, well, after completing the win at the U.S. Open, won his 17th win or 17th tournament in 28 starts. Okay. In those 17 wins, there was a stretch of 7 in a row. Okay. Which was also part of 9 of 12. And there was a T2 mixed in there. There was also a 5 in a row streak mixed in there. So, yeah.
It's just nasty. It's nasty. And, I talked about it on the pod. It was like a Sunday ritual to check a leaderboard at 5, 6. And it's like, yeah, he's there. And here was the rule. If he was leading after 54, he won. If he was tied after 54, he won. If he was trailing after 54, he still usually won. So I think we took it for granted for a long time. But in that 2008 U.S. Open, his caddy, Stevie Williams, correct?
Yes.
He told him, "Hey, dude, like, let's tap out, let's quit." And Tiger's like, "No. Let me throw on the cape, and because he did not start out great. Like he was kind of grinding along, and yeah, that was unbelievable. But we're back at Torrey Pines. Talk about the course. The U.S. Open is notorious for low scores. Like, I believe they get embarrassed if someone shoots 4 under, 5 under.
Yeah.
The rough is usually grown out. Talk about the course.
Yeah, so we're gonna definitely see some high numbers. I think if it's gonna be under par, it's gonna be single digits for sure. We're talking maybe 4 under par, 3 under par, something like that. Course is played long, 7,800 yards. So for anybody who's a PGA Tour fan, you'll know that Torrey Pines hosts a regular tour event during the season at the beginning of the year, which in Southern California, San Diego, there, the weather's obviously a lot different in January or February than it is in the middle of summer or beginning of summer. So you're going to see a very, very firm and fast golf course with some springy greens and extra juicy rough, Bobby. We're going to see some hacking coming out of the rough this week.
And for people that don't know, when you come out of the rough, it's really hard to put spin on that ball. So when you're coming out of the rough on harder greens, it's going to be even harder to kind of stick these greens. No, this weekend.
Oh yeah, it's going to be a ball striker's paradise again. Paradise. The advantage will be given to the premier ball strikers. It seems like we say that in every major championship, but I mean, a U.S. Open it's all about ball position placement, being able to plot your way around a course, and take your medicine, because you're not going to be able to go after every pin. You're not going to be able to make pars on some holes. You're just gonna have to take your lumps and get out of there with a bogey, sometimes a double bogey, right? It's just trying not to get the big number on the scorecard, and that's what a U.S. Open typically feels like, and it's probably what we're gonna see again this week.
And I agree. The thing that really kind of puzzles me is that I believe it was last year, the year before, I believe it was at Bethpage Black when Bryson DeChambeau won, and I didn't think that he'd have the type of game to win at a U.S. Open, but he did.
It was last year at Winged Foot.
Okay, yeah. Yes, you're right. How does a guy like that, I thought it'd be a guy that kind of stays in the fairway, that's not a bomber. A guy like Bryson, you think this course kind of favors a guy like that, or?
I think the difference between Winged Foot and Torrey is that Winged Foot's fairways were a lot more narrow. So Bryson was not spraying it, but he was hitting it in the rough and able to get himself out of there. But the course wasn't really set up for or favorable for keeping the ball in play or keeping it in the fairway. So you had a lot more guys missing the fairway and just they didn't have either the distance to put themselves close enough to the hole to make something out of it or the strength to get out of the rough. Torrey's a little bit of a wider course. The fairways are generous. Like I said, firm and fast usually means you're going to get some run out on the ball. So the traditional, average hitter on the PGA Tour or playing in this event this week is probably going to be, they're going to see the benefit from keeping the ball on the ground, running in the fairways, and they're probably going to get some extra added, distance from those plays, right? So it's gonna be interesting. I'm not really high on Bryson this week. I think last year, he did something that I don't see as being sustainable when it comes to managing your or course management, especially in the U.S. Open.
Mm-hmm.
So I think you have to look at the pure ball strikers for this week.
Okay,
my favorites.
We can talk about Bryson all day, but let's talk about why we really care about Bryson DeChambeau. Is we have finally we have not even an artificial, a natural
Exactly.
hatred. That's what makes this beautiful. So him and Brooks are obviously going back and forth. I never liked Brooks Koepka. I love Brooks Koepka now. Was there a bit of a miss here by the USGA not pairing these two together? There's reports that they asked Bryson, he said no. I kind of believe it because I don't think Bryson wants any part of this. I think it would kind of mess with him a little bit. I think Brooksy doesn't mind, and so was this kind of a miss? This would have been must-watch TV the next 2 days. Now it's like I'll tune in, but I'm not as intrigued.
I mean, I think I can go either way with this. I'm more of let things happen organically kind of guy.
Mm-hmm.
Like if it's meant to be, it'll happen. And the best way for that to happen would probably be on Sunday in the final group if we had Brooks Koepka and Bryson DeChambeau paired up at the top of the leaderboard. But I mean, from a ratings perspective, yeah, obviously you want to get some ratings on the first couple days of the tournament when your average golf or casual golf fan might not be that interested in the first 2 days. Maybe you attract some more eyeballs, but at the end of the day, I think the circus around it, it's not really necessary. But like you said, finally something to kind of grab onto that's not so, mundane and boring. We have something that's, kind of, it sparks some kind of interest outside of just what's going on the golf course.
I don't know if you've ever seen this in golf. I haven't been a golf fan long enough to tell you. I've never seen this before. I just and like you said, it's organic. It's not like this is forced. This is a true hatred, and I just want to see the handshakes. I think when we talk about Ryder Cup down the line, that's going to be more interesting because these two are probably going to be both going to be on the U.S. team. So imagine them being paired together in a what's the format where they alternate shots? Is it alternate shot?
Yeah, alternate shot, or they play a better ball, or it's. We'll see what happens. I mean, at the end of the day, these guys are around each other a lot more than we know just because of the fact that, the top players are playing in all the big events most of the time, your WGCs, your majors. So, I mean, they're going to have to deal with it eventually at some point. But we'll see. I know the fans are loving it. They're calling Bryson Brooksy, and it's
amazing.
Just,
and he's booting guys out of tournaments.
Yeah, it's nice to have the fans back for this. That's for sure.
Yeah, this is perfect. So, moving off of those guys, give me some guys to watch for this week. Some guys whose game kind of favor this course.
I mean, the obvious one right now has got to be Jon Rahm. This guy was like miles ahead of the field last week, or a couple weeks ago, was it? And he, has the COVID test come back positive. So he gets pulled out of that tournament. But it's not only the fact that Jon Rahm's been playing well, he's won at Torrey before. And he seems to play really well at Torrey year in and year out. So that's definitely like the obvious choice for me at number one.
And it would be great to see him win because I think it was 2 weeks ago that
Yes.
he was kicked out. And I don't know if you heard, he basically they knew on Wednesday. He was like, I've come in contact with somebody. He was staying away from people. I believe he told his playing partner. I can't remember who it was. Um, I don't remember who it was, but he had told him like, stay away from me. I'm probably I may test positive, and he did. So it'd be great to see him win. But and who else? Who else do you got?
I mean, I don't really see. I mean, you never know with Rory. He's another guy that he can just, you know, decide, hey, I got it all working this week. The driver again has been a rough spot for him this year. So he's always a guy that he's got the game, but I don't see his game being quite there yet, where he's automatic with every part of his, every club in the bag and every
Mhm.
facet of his game. Um, DJ seems to be kind of getting primed for the big events that are left this year. Brooks Koepka, healthy again, played well at Kiowa, was in the mix on Sunday, just fell short. Obviously, Phil Mickelson, that's another story that we might have to dedicate a whole episode to. Um, but there are two guys, probably on the sleeper end of things. I say Justin Rose. Watch out for him. He's been playing really well lately.
Whoa, J Rose.
He is a U.S. Open type player. Great ball striker. When the putter is hot, he is one of the best putters in the game. And he's won a U.S. Open before on a really tough track at Marion. So I would look at Justin Rose as definitely someone who you'll see sniffing around the top 10. And then a young gun that is gonna win a major one day, could be soon, is Victor Hovland. Um, Another great ball striker. He's got some power. He's been playing really well recently, and he finished T2 at Torrey Pines this year in the Farmers Insurance Open. So there's another
He
guy.
won low amateur at the Masters a couple years ago, correct? I believe
Yeah,
it was Victor Hovland.
yeah, yeah.
Might have been the year Tiger won, going back to Tiger, I think.
If I'm not mistaken, that would have been the year. Yeah.
Okay, so you give me Justin Rose, which I kind of feel like is a dark horse because nobody's talking about. Do you have any other dark horses? Anybody else that I can lay a few bucks on? Maybe get a nice payout.
Uh, I don't know. I mean, it's tough to go down the leader. I mean, down the favorites that far, but a young guy or two young guys that I think have been playing really well lately. That you never know if they might win a major a lot earlier than expected. Will Zalatoris is one of them, and Sam Burns. I know he had a little bit of injury trouble, but he's playing, and he was on fire before he got hurt. So you never know. Two
Okay.
guys that maybe would sprinkle a few coins on just to see if you get lucky.
And we got last one. Any legendary players? Because we got to cover our butts now after the Phil Mickelson. Any legendary all timer, older folks,
I
an
mean,
older player? Give me one
let's.
older
I'm
guy.
gonna go. I'm gonna say Phil. You never know.
Phil. Can you
Phil is
imagine?
missing this U.S. Open. He's a SoCal guy.
Yeah.
He's got a passion and a love for this golf course. Hasn't always played well, but I mean, we didn't see it coming at Kiowa, and anything could happen. The guy he's in the best shape he's ever been in his life.
Right.
He knows this golf course. He's been playing it for years. Why not again?
You just heard it here first. Vito is putting Phil down for the Tiger Slam this year. He's going for it. He's getting the Tiger Slam over the next calendar year. You're calling it.
I just wanna, send a little positive, energy towards Phil. He needs the U.S. Open to complete the career Grand Slam. It's the only one he's missing, and we know Phil's had so many heartbreaking moments at the U.S. Open, so many second place finishes. So it would be obviously probably the story of the year in sports if this guy can pull off
Oh,
back to back majors and finally complete his career slam.
I was always a Tiger guy. I'm rooting for you, Phil. Phil, Tiger Slam. How beautiful would that be to end off 2021 and into 2022? Okay, Vito, thanks for coming out. If
Thanks
you
for
like
having me.
this, if you like the content, you like to smash the like button, smash the subscribe button, and it give us your winners, your dark horses, and do you think that Brooks Koepka and Bryson DeChambeau should be playing together? I think they should, but that's me. I like a little bit of drama in my life. Vito, thanks a lot for coming out, bud.
Thank you.